Hey, it's Stu Peters and Richard Leonard for Law Dog Coffee Company. Welcome to Law Dog Coffee Company. Some heroes wear capes, ours wear a badge. Every single purchase you make goes to support law enforcement. So if you love the cops, if you support law enforcement, if you don't agree with defunding the police, if you want to make sure that they have good equipment, if you want to take care of law enforcement families, this is the only coffee that you want to drink. And not only that, their purpose is great, but the coffee is even better. You can sign up online very easily for freshly roasted specialty coffee to your door. You can choose weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly deliveries. Gifts and apparel also available. Law Dog Coffee Company, located at lawdogcoffee.com. Lawdogcoffee.com. That's lawdogcoffee.com. Use the promo code PCRadio for 10% off every purchase.
Censored by Twitter, shadow banned on Facebook, and hated by fake news media. The patriotically correct radio show with Stu and Rich. Mojo 50 Radio.
Kind of appropriate work there by Bo, our voice guy. Bombshell stuff coming out here on Thursday, October 15th, halfway through the month, and boy, we're just over 20 days away from a general election. The President of the United States and millions of people already voting, watching some of these confirmation hearings earlier today, watching some of the replays now. They have, Lindsey Graham was able to set a date for the vote being the 22nd. So a week from today, there will be a vote on whether or not to confirm Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Richard Blumenthal already this morning was trying to delay today's meetings. And so Democrats very slowly trickled in. I guess it's the last thing that they have, Richard, to try to stop this thing.
Yeah, I found it real interesting yesterday. They had 2 or 3 extremely convenient technical difficulties with the audio and had to go to recess.
Do you think it's child's play like that? I mean, do you think that's actually what's going on here, is that they're really doing the I have to go to the bathroom thing?
At this point, I put nothing past these assholes, man. This whole thing is just getting insanely out of line.
When is their base going to actually say, from the left, look, this is enough? I mean, you guys are acting like children. This woman, there could be no better nomination by the president for this Supreme Court justice seat vacancy. And there's certainly sane, level-headed Democrats out there that have to be looking at this thing saying, oh, my goodness. I mean, this crazy Maisie from Hawaii, for example, I mean, all but accusing Amy Coney Barrett of being a rapist. It's just absolutely the most strange and bizarre line of questioning I think that I've ever seen in a Senate hearing in my entire life. This is a confirmation hearing for a SCOTUS seat. This is a lifetime appointment to change the court for an incredibly long period of time. And Crazy Maisie from Hawaii says, basically, are you a rapist? Have you ever made unsolicited sexual advances towards somebody? Really?
And not only that, but in front of the woman's kids,
right.
It's unreal.
Yeah. So anyway, Amy Coney Barrett, it looks like there's nothing that the Democrats can do here to stop this. This has just been, a week-long grandstanding political campaign event for them to talk about how much they hate Donald Trump. Speaking of Donald Trump, it's turning out that the media tells us everything that Donald Trump is, but it's turning out here that the Bidens are exactly who the media tells us that the Trumps are. And the New York Post, with the big Biden secret emails coming out, revealed Ukrainian exec thanked Hunter Biden for the opportunity to meet VP father, or Veep dad, as the quote is in the New York Post. The New York Post, one of the largest publications here in the United States. Steve Bannon was on the Fox Business Network talking a little bit about this revelation. Let's listen to that.
Well, I think this tells us very simply, Maria, I've been on your show since the beginning of this year saying consistently one thing, that Joe Biden has extensive financial relationships with foreign governments and companies controlled by foreign governments that he's never disclosed. In fact, he's lied about it. This is the first story, and the New York Post has done a great job. You got Emma Jo Morris, and the great columnist Miranda Devine does a terrific job. Everybody should go to the New York Post for the story. But this just lays right out that Joe Biden has lied to the mainstream media. He's lied to the New York Times. He's lied to the Wall Street Journal. He's lied to the Washington Post. He's consistently lied. He didn't know anything about this. These emails show that he lied about that. Also shows there's another story there that shows the extensive relationships they're doing, I think, to violate FARA regulations, talking about all these meetings they're going to set up. This is the Biden family and Joe Biden has a major national security problem. And that problem is that they've got extensive financial relationships across the globe with, lots of companies controlled by foreign governments, and they've never disclosed it. And Joe Biden has stood on the debate stage across from President Trump. He's lied about it. He's lied about this specific thing with Burisma. He's lied about it consistently, and he's got to be held accountable. He's got to be held accountable by the mainstream media, and he has to be held accountable, I think, by the Trump campaign and ultimately the American people.
There's the former White House chief strategist, Steve Bannon, talking about the revelations here that were uncovered by the New York Post in what appears to be a pretty in-depth investigative report.
Yeah, this is just becoming such a common theme and a common footprint for this party, man. And I mean, what's really going to be done about any of this crap? And look, they're still trying to get Hillary when it seemed like at the end of the last election and now into today even that it should be a slam dunk no duh case.
Well, and granted, from the outside looking in, we don't know exactly what the DOJ is dealing with that investigation. Attorney General Barr, I'm sure, has looked into this multiple times, but there are also a lot of things that our government does that they don't tell us. There's a lot of backroom deals going on in our government. There is a ton of corruption, and Donald Trump ran on one of the biggest campaign promises, I think, that resonated with the voter when they went to the booth to vote for him and pull the lever for Donald J. Trump in 2016. There was build the wall, there was all these things, but the biggest thing was drain the swamp. Right. And he went there promising to do that. Now I'm not gonna say that Trump hasn't introduced some swamp people himself. I mean, he definitely has some people that are I don't know, Washington regulars, if you will, inside of his cabinet and his administration. These people, for example, Mnuchin. I mean, a lot of people, we were listening to Dominic Izzo on this network on Mojo 50 last night. He didn't even realize that Mnuchin was a Democrat. And a lot of people would not expect a Donald Trump to bring a Democrat in to his administration like that, which he's proven that this is the proof that our president is willing to work across the aisle. He's willing to work with anybody that it takes to get the job done. And that is why the people voted for him. They wanted somebody that was going to lead this country based on this country's best interests. And at least in my lifetime, there's not been a president that has done a more clear, more transparent job of actually doing that. And that's proven by him doing things like bringing in a Democrat like Mnuchin, for example. Going back to this New York Post thing, of course, then there was the distribution. And the distribution of this thing going out so that the masses could see firsthand the corruption and what was going on. Then, all of a sudden, the Post was restricted by Twitter. Hit fit the shan at that point. This was unbelievable that an article like this or findings like this or an investigative report like this this is very problematic. I started seeing tweets about this last night. I must have been completely disconnected from the world last night. Obviously, you and I were working and we were, outstate Minnesota and we were looking for fugitives. We're not necessarily just reading Twitter, but on the way home, when I stop for gasoline and I'm standing at the pump and I'm looking at Twitter, I'm going, oh my God, what is this? And just couldn't believe what was before my eyes. To talk to us a little bit about this here is our social media consultant, PC Radio contributor from St. Paul, Minnesota, Lindsay Ferris Martin. Welcome back to PC Radio. Can you believe what's going on with Twitter?
Hoy vey is all I can say. Right? Can I believe it? Yes, I can, just because this is where we're at with our social media platforms, trying to, instead of being publishers, try to make themselves appear to be a legitimate broadcasting news platform instead.
Yeah. What kind of implications does this have? I mean, you're a social media consultant. I don't know how much you delve into. I know that you're a former political candidate, but I don't know how much you delve into the political side of this. But there's certainly going to be some major fallout from this. I mean, this in every sense of the word, Lindsay, is this is big tech, civil cyber warfare against conservatives.
It is, and to answer your question, this goes far beyond just what does my social media news feed look like? Am I actually receiving real information, or is it just being continually fed to me by particular algorithms or whatever the publisher like Twitter or Facebook wants me to see? But it goes actually into our politics. It really does. And for example, how this is going to affect our Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, that's been kind of developed because of these social media platforms and the responsibilities to the general public. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to be affected by this. And we see that, Facebook has obviously been affected in other countries by this very same thing, like in Australia. So it'll be interesting to see how this reaches across into our government and what kind of liabilities Twitter is going to be faced with for either withholding information that is valid and truthful, or if they're going to be held liable for only propaganda. It's hard to say what's going to happen.
Yeah. For our listeners here, and I don't know if you were aware of this, Kamala Harris's press secretary is the chief of communications at Twitter. So let's let that sink in for just a minute here. I was reading on Twitter also this morning, Representative Matt Gaetz, his tweet simply was, Twitter is engaged in domestic election interference. That's what this is. This is election interference, and Twitter's engaged in it. They are protecting the Bidens. So I just want to get into a little bit here also. So there was an apology by Jack Dorsey, who, by the way, is the Twitter CEO, for those of you who don't know that. He apologized last evening for the way the company handled limiting of the distribution of a New York Post article about alleged emails on Hunter Biden's computer. Also, there were some photographs that were obtained from Hunter Biden's computer. We saw Hunter Biden with a meth bubble, a meth pipe in his mouth, and him in the hot tub there. And the guy is a complete tool and a total greaseball. And there's other words that I would like to use here, but the guy. Here's one of the things that I had noticed here is that look at the Trump family. The way that they've been attacked, but the way that they stick together, the nucleus of that family is so strong that even the strongest of hate that is brought towards the Trumps, they remain classy. They remain they're genuinely nice people, and by every account, anybody that I've ever heard of that has personal experience with the Trump family has all said the same thing. They come to Minnesota quite a bit. It's no secret that Minnesota is a battleground and it's a swing state, and for the first time in many, many years, it looks like there's a strong possibility that Trump could actually take Minnesota, and Minnesota would be red for I don't know when the last time that happened was. But anyway, Dorsey continues, after the article's publication, Facebook said it would reduce its reach until it was verified by a third-party fact-checker. Then Twitter followed suit with a similar move, but Twitter blocked users from sharing the story completely. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. This is Richard's. Every time I start reading her name, I see Richard for some reason. There might be.
I can't say your name
look
either.
A lot alike.
McEnany, excuse me, Kayleigh McEnany, for example, was locked out of her account. Okay, at the time, the company said its decision stemmed from a policy on hacked materials. The White House press secretary's account was blocked. She was locked out of an official White House account. This is going beyond censorship at this point. You are now blocking official communications from the President of the United States to the people of America. To that, Lindsay, what do you say?
It's horrifying, actually. I have no other words than it's horrifying. And all I can say is, like, if you look at it at a local level, it's like the Minneapolis City Council trying to get rid of their public information officer with the police department, right? Like, there are these active agents really trying to keep you from knowing the truth, and both at the local and then obviously the national level, and it's horrifying.
It is. Twitter's CEO then later said, I guess this is his form of an apology, our communication around our actions on the New York Post article was not great. And blocking URL sharing via tweet or DM with zero context as to why we're blocking, unacceptable. So he's saying that the actions of his company were unacceptable and that he felt that they needed to be more transparent. The Twitter safety account then tweeted that it wanted to provide, quote, much needed clarity, end quote, around the company's actions. A tweet that acknowledged the company needed to do better said, quote, we know we have more work to do to provide clarity in our product when we enforce our rules in this manner. We should provide additional clarity and context when preventing the tweeting or DMing of URLs that violate policies, end quote. So what they originally did was, this is probably Jack Dorsey just being drunk at dinner, having too many glasses of wine and some scotch, and he sees this article and he went, oh, damn it, they're really going after him. And then he blocked it, right? I mean, this was clearly this was a knee-jerk reaction to block information from penetrating I said penetrating again. Damn it.
I know.
Damn it. It's not even hump day. Damn it.
I love it.
A knee-jerk reaction to block information from getting to the American people. That's what this is. There's no two ways about it. There's no going back. There's no apologizing for this. There's no undoing this. But this is their attempt. This is Jack Dorsey and Twitter's attempt to try to somehow bring justification for this. So as for why the Twitter limited story distribution, the tweet said, quote, the images contained in the articles include personal and private information like email addresses and phone numbers, which violate our rules. So they're going on policy violation now. My question would be this. What about the fake dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton to try to get the president impeached? That was all over Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Snowden have all of his shit on Twitter when he dropped all those bombs?
And furthermore, WikiLeaks. Have we ever heard of that organization? So here's the deal. The tweet continued, quote, as noted this morning, we also currently view materials included in the articles as violations of our, quote, hacked materials policy. Well, isn't that the very definition, Lindsay, of what WikiLeaks is and has been tweeting in the Twitter sphere for many, many years, is hacked and leaked documents and material which, by the way, include personal and private information like email addresses and phone numbers. The double standard is appalling. It's right before our eyes. How long is it going to take before Americans just say, you know what, this is absolutely the end of the line for me? This is obvious totalitarian type censorship is what this is.
Exactly. And you know what? When I hear this an apology, what I hear is, I'm sorry we didn't provide you with a strong bullpoopy type of excuse. They're saying they weren't transparent enough, but what they're saying is that they just didn't come out with a bullshit excuse as to why they're doing it. Because if they're going to sit there and tell us that they didn't provide us with a reason, they're telling us they didn't provide us with an excuse. Because whatever line they're going to feed us next is really not going to be all that authentic.
Yeah. Richard,
Weird.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the actual New York Post article, and this is... Look, Facebook said that they're going to let third-party fact checkers look over this. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about third-party fact checking by Facebook and listen to what Tucker Carlson had to say about this last night from the Fox News channel.
This is a Fox News alert. We have just heard from the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. He tweeted this, quote, our communication around our actions on the New York Post article was not great. And blocking URL sharing via tweet or DM with zero context as to why we're blocking, unacceptable. Huh. Writes like a child. Manages the company like one, too. By the way, the Biden campaign is able to call the story, quote, discredited because big tech is trying to discredit it. No reporter has taken a look at the story and concluded, oh, sure, this is a Russian fabrication. Putin did this. That's ridiculous. So the Biden campaign is using big tech as a pretext for not responding. And big tech, of course, is trying to prevent you from reading it at all. Where does this go from here? If Biden's elected, you really think that the big tech companies are going to stop doing the bidding of their masters in Washington? Not a chance. You think big tech is going to suddenly think, oh, you're allowed to think for yourself? No. Last night in the show, we questioned whether masks are really effective at the transmission of the coronavirus, for example. And as we did that, we cited data directly from the CDC. We pulled it off their website, as well as other scientific sources. Science Magazine, for example. One study found that more than 70% of patients who contracted the coronavirus said they had always worn a mask. Another 14% said they usually did. We told you that last night. We posted that segment on Facebook. Today we learned that Facebook is calling our reporting, quote, partly false. We quoted the CDC. They restricted the distribution of the post to prevent people from seeing it. Again, we can't say this enough. The data that we put on television last night were from the Centers for Disease Control. We used their numbers. We didn't make them up, but Facebook censored it. Where's this going exactly?
I'll let you answer that question. Where is this going exactly, Lindsay?
That is an interesting question, and it's something that I've been messaging you over the last couple of weeks, right, is that now what we have is the media even saying, well, this post was removed from the Trump campaign by Facebook fact checker. So obviously there's an issue. We can't use Facebook and Twitter, quote-unquote, fact checkers as gospel. We can't do it because it's not right. And let's be real, the Huffington Post has a moral obligation to post something that is legitimate. They have to do their fact checking.
We actually talked a little bit about the mask thing. We were listening rather to Donna Fiducia, formerly of the Fox News Channel. She is now with Don Newen here on Mojo 50 Radio, and they were interviewing Dr. X-Ray in reference to these masks and things like that. And that was the first time that we had heard, Richard, when Dr. X-Ray said that the CDC said that in most cases reported of coronavirus, the majority of people that contracted COVID-19 were wearing masks. The CDC then saying masks are ineffective. The World Health Organization actually just came out saying that lockdowns are not the answer and retracted their original position that lockdowns were the answer. Now governors like Timmy the Tyrant here in Minnesota, Governor Walz, are forced to have a position on whether or not lockdowns are going to be the answer. In New York, for example, Governor Cuomo and Bill de Blasio, the mayor of that cesspool of corruption, are going to just lock down certain zip codes. We can probably
unbelievable.
We can probably estimate. I can probably assume that those are zip codes that tend to be conservative-leaning areas of the city. These are going to be people that are locked down, unable to vote, unable to communicate, unable to talk to one another, unable to go out to the bar for a few cocktails, and things like that. So now Governor Walz has taken kind of a different approach where it was actually shocking, and Representative Jeremy Munson actually tweeted, "Somebody pinch me," because the governor here said he agrees with the World Health Organization. We are seeing the most volatile eruption of corruption that we have ever seen, at least in my lifetime, as we approach what is indisputably the most important election of our lifetime. Is this going to only get worse, Lindsay, in the social media sphere as we lead up to November 23rd?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you finished that statement because I'm like, yeah, I hope, the optimist in me hopes that this just all goes back to normal after the election, right? Like we get our freedoms back, both on social media platforms and in real life. But I do have a feeling it is going to get worse. And I'm afraid, right? Because people are owed the truth. And more importantly, not only are we owed the truth, but we're also owed the opportunity to look at both sides of any argument, just in general, to be smart and to be educated. So even if we don't agree with one side of the argument, we should be able to see the other side, and we're not. And that, to me, is horrifying, and I do anticipate it's going to get worse. Just because, think about it, Facebook fact checker and Twitter fact checker has really just up and come in the last few weeks here, right? And they're taking down really important information straight from the White House, and they're restricting people from the White House. And it's just important information that we need to know to make an educated vote. Yeah. And we're only seeing one side, and that's really alarming.
Yeah, I really would love to be a fly on the wall in this corruption war room, so to speak, because it seems like they keep trying different things and on to the next, and then it blows up. And just to see what the next lie to be conjured up is going to be and how they come to those conclusions would be interesting.
I'm seeing breaking news here from earlier today. I must have missed it. Kamala Harris has halted travel after 2 people in her campaign have tested positive for COVID. So the Trumps had it. Now she's got to have it. This thing is gonna blow up as well. Lindsay, I can't thank you enough for being here. You know that I'm up against a hard break and I got to go. That's Lindsay Ferris Martin, social media consultant,
thank you, ma'am.
Radio contributor from St. Paul, Minnesota. We love having her on to talk about these things. More coming up here in the second half, including information on where you can find PC Radio in person. We're going to be out and about and talking and rallying and hyping everybody up. More PC Radio straight ahead. Don't go anywhere.
We will force votes. We will not stop. Any Republican senator is part of the cover-up.
What the f?
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
This is madness!
The PC Radio Show with Stu and Rich. Back in a minute.
Hey, it's Stu Peters for Johnson Jewelers, located in Woodbury, Minnesota, but more importantly, located online worldwide at johnsonjewelers.com. Why is that important to you? Well, because if you have been left behind or you have discovered a family heirloom or something that's important to you, maybe it's grandma's birthstone, or maybe it's a pendant or a family crest, maybe it's grandpa's ring, but it doesn't quite fit you, or maybe it needs to be restored, or you see something completely different in mind. Why shove that thing in a safety deposit box? Why put it aside or put it in a shadow box or just break it out every once in a while to show the grandkids? Instead, you could wear that with a custom piece of jewelry designed for you, specifically by johnsonjewelers.com. A quick visit to the website, a couple of emails exchanged, and maybe a few phone calls, and you will have that custom piece of jewelry that means something for you. Visit them online, worldwide, johnsonjewelers.com, johnsonjewelers.com. That's johnsonjewelers.com.
Prop 25 ends our right to put up bail for anyone, even though they may have been racially profiled. Prop 25 replaces bail with computer algorithms. Academic studies show that these algorithms are biased. Some call them black boxes. And Prop 25's new bureaucracy delays justice for innocent people stuck in jail. The NAACP asks you to vote no on Proposition 25.
I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life if my last name wasn't Biden.
Like your investment firm striking $1 billion deal with a Chinese-owned bank 10 days after you and Joe visit, and collecting over $80,000 a month from a Ukrainian energy company after your father was named point man on Ukraine.
It is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the Vice President of the United States.
The question is not why Hunter Biden used his name to get these gigs. It's why Joe Biden let him do it.
Very interesting first segment, and love having Lindsay Ferris Martin on the show. She's our social media consultant and a PC Radio contributor, local right here in the Twin Cities of metropolitan area of St. Paul and Minnesota of the United States of America, for which it stands. And she always does a really good job. I like having her on. She's a genuinely nice person as well. If you have any social media things that you'd like to do for your business, or if you have any social media questions, anything like that, you can find Lindsay Ferris Martin online everywhere because she's a damn social media consultant. Speaking of finding people anywhere and everywhere, we are going to start getting out and about starting October 25th. We are going to be making our first really big public appearance. It's highly anticipated. Everybody wants to know, oh my God, when can I see them in person? I have to be able to touch Richard. I want to shake his Corona hands. Can't he just sneeze on me like he did in the first segment? Bless you, by the way.
Bring baby wipes.
Yes. The We the People rally is going to be at JR's Barn in Waldorf, Minnesota on October 25th from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And we, Richard, are invited to be speakers there. We're going to be VIP. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a great event. But you know what VIP means for me? It means a place where I can set my shit down and then go be amongst the people, because you're not going to find me behind some ropes and touting my fame. A million people listen to me every day. What do you got? That's not really me. So let's turn the state red. By the way, Richard, you were telling me during the break, I was inquiring or saying something about how long it's been since Minnesota was red. When is the last time Minnesota went red?
The last time Minnesota was red in the presidential election was in 1972 for Mr. Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon. Anyway, the We the People rally. Let's turn the state red. JR's Barn, Waldorf, Minnesota. Joy Villa is going to be there. That's amazing. This is hosted by some really good people, Minnesotans for Freedom, MN for Freedom. You can find them. There's a group on Facebook. If you are a Minnesotan and you care about freedom, go find them. It's going to be a great event. Also, yes. By the way, something very important that I want to tell you. It's kid friendly. So I've talked to Chad and Allie and Chris and some of these people that are historically kind of in charge of doing some of this stuff here in Minnesota and putting this together. First of all, thank you to you guys, because this is the true definition of patriotism. This is the true definition of being involved, doing something to help institute the change that you wish for. It's easy for any of us to sit back and bitch about the things that are going on in our state, or bitch about the things that are going on in our country, or complain about politicians, or waver about this and that, sit at a bar, get drunk, and cause fights. I mean, it's easy for us to do those kinds of things. What is not easy is actually getting up off of your ass and doing something about it. So I've oftentimes said, the true definition of a patriot is, why don't you go run for office? Which is true, but this is also just as equally patriotic, in my opinion, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time to organize these things.
Yeah.
Answer stupid questions from people. Where are we going? Where do we meet? All these other things, and to stick in there and do it. For a whole election season is quite impressive.
Yeah.
And my hat's off to them for sure.
There's a guy from the Rowdy podcast is going to be there. John Mitchell, Elizabeth Bangert's going to be there. CC Davis, we will be there. And then from what I understand, there's going to be some other speakers there as well. That is October 25th, JR's Barn, Waldorf, Minnesota. More details will be posted on our Facebook page, which, by the way, leads me to my next deal. Why don't you get over there right now, if you haven't already, to the Patriotically Correct Radio Show Facebook page and like that thing and follow that thing, at least for as long as Facebook is going to allow us to be here. They tried to shut us down yesterday. We had to stream with a different method. Yeah. Did you see how goofy our live stream looked yesterday? I didn't notice it until afterwards, because on the OpsLens page and in the OpsLens app, we were fine. But we don't need to fool OpsLens, because OpsLens is part of the Truth Brigade. And those of you who are part of the Relentless Truth Seeker Squad should get over there also and download the OpsLens app. The Truth Brigade meets the RTSS. It's awesome. Yes. It's like one big orgy here of patriotism. We like an orgy of patriotism. So get over there, download the OpsLens app, go to our Facebook page, like it, and share it. That's the only way that an independent radio station can grow. We are not a huge media network. We will be. 1 million people sounds like a lot. That's who we talk to on iHeartRadio. But what we really need to grow is that grassroots. You know, one of the most interesting ways that people campaign for a public office is by going door to door.
Yep.
That's one of the most effective ways that a politician, because really, if you want to say that I'm hearing my constituent, I'm listening to the concerns of the voter, you're not reading the emails. Somebody else has. You have a staffer that's doing that. You're not opening snail mail. You have a staffer that's doing that. You're not going through even a lot of these people don't even go through their own Twitter accounts. They're not even the ones responsible for their own tweets or Facebook posts or anything. Sometimes maybe the DNC puts together the next tweet that's going to go out by Nancy Pelosi. I would not doubt that one bit, that they're not speaking for themselves. One guy, however, that is speaking for himself comes from California. Joe Collins is a Navy veteran, and he's running against Maxine Waters. When I came across this ad, I just about lost my mind.
I'm Joe Collins. I'm running for Congress against Maxine Waters. Do you know where I am right now? Maxine Waters' $6 million mansion. Do you know where I'm not right now? Maxine Waters District. Yep, that's right. Maxine does not live in her district, but I do. I was born right here in South LA, in a place Maxine refuses to live. Maxine Waters does not drink our water, she does not breathe our air, and while she sits here in her mansion, Our district is in ruins. Let me show you. This is South LA. I was born here. I grew up on 104th and Normandy. Maxine Waters has been in office for 44 years. Has anything got better around here? I can tell you firsthand that it hasn't. I survived a drive-by shooting in this house when I was a child. Gangs, drugs, violence, that was my upbringing. And where was Maxine Waters? Nowhere to be found. I survived Maxine's district. Graduated high school, went on to join the U.S. Navy. I fought for this country. But while I was fighting for this country, Maxine Waters could not be bothered to fight for her own district here in America. And when I returned from war, I came back to my community as a war zone. And why doesn't Maxine Waters want to live in her own district? Because she doesn't want to suffer the consequences of her own policies. South Los Angeles has been represented by Maxine Waters for 44 years. What has she done for this district? Just this year, deadly crime spiked 15% in South LA, much of it due to gang activity. The homicide rate in South LA has shot up by 53%. South LA has the highest poverty rate in the city, with a crippling 43% of its residents living below the poverty line. Meanwhile, in LA County has a homeless population of over 40,000 people. Homelessness rates has increased by 264% since 2009. Wow. Los Angeles is one of the largest hubs of sex trafficking of young girls and women. LA is in the top 10 least safest cities in America to raise a family. And our schools fail our children. In South LA, 29% of black children never graduate high school. Look at this. How many little Latino and black children has been abandoned by Maxine Waters? This is the reality for children every day in Maxine Waters' district. Maxine doesn't care about our district. She only cares about herself and using our tax dollars to buy mansions. When Maxine fails to lead, riots and violence surge in our streets. While our buildings and businesses burn, Maxine sits safe in her mansion, guarded by the same police she demonizes. Maxine has never had to deal with violence or riots in her neighborhood. That must be nice. But this is the way the rest of us lives. We need someone to represent us who lives here, who fights here, who wants to improve our way of life. Someone who understands we need safe streets and a strong economy. Our children should never have to grow up living in fear of being killed, like I did on this block. You send me to Washington, and I'll make sure our children never have to live in a war zone. Unlike Maxine Waters, I know the pain that crime, violence, gangs, homelessness does to our children. I was one of the kids left behind by Maxine Waters. I'm gonna fight for safety and dignity for South LA. The only question you need to ask is this. In the last 44 years, where has Maxine Waters been? Our people deserve better. My name is Joe Collins. I'm a veteran, I'm a patriot, and I actually care about our lives in LA. LA deserves better. Let's retire Maxine Waters to her mansion. I'm Joe Collins, and I'm the man to do it.
Boy, I tell you what, I do not want to live in Los Angeles. I do not. No. Let me just get that clear right here. I did live in LA. I lived there for 3 years. Los Angeles then was, so I'll date myself again. I seem to be doing this a lot on the show lately. But in 1999, I went to Los Angeles. Wow. And I was there in that area for 3 years. I was also in the Inland Empire out in Pomona, California, and I was in Fontana, California, way out there by the Fontana, the California Speedway. We lived not far from there at all. We could hear the NASCAR stuff going on. But listen, if there were one reason that I would want to live in Los Angeles, it would be so that I could pull the lever for Joe Collins. This is exactly the kind of person that America is looking for. Maxine Waters, and I was looking for it on Google here because Google seems to tend to lean towards liberal rhetoric. No secret there. But you know what? Joe Collins is doing a really good job. His campaign is doing a really good job of staying in the news, because I'm looking here on Google, and when I type Maxine Waters fires back at Joe Collins, Maxine Waters responds to Joe Collins, I see a bunch of positive pro Joe Collins stuff. Republican for Congress. You can chip in $10, $25, or Hunter. Where is Hunter? Is Hunter around? I mean, he's got some millions that he can spend.
He's in Russia.
Yeah, smoking a meth bubble. Hey, when you wake up, Hunter, and you come out of the trap house over there, wherever you're at today, hiding from your criminal activity and preparing to go to prison with your father for a very, very long time, before you do that, if you're looking for a place to launder some of that money, maybe you could invest here. This is a guy who actually does care about our country, and this is a guy who is a veteran. He proved that he cared about our country by volunteering, signing up to die and make the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Richard, this guy is a perfect candidate. These are the kinds of people that I want to see running for office all over the place, regardless of their political affiliation. I wouldn't care if this guy was a Democrat. If this is his message, that he wants to unseat somebody who sits up there in her mansion and does absolutely nothing for her district, and doesn't even live in her district. And Maxine Waters has been in office literally for a lifetime.
Well, changing of the guard, man. I think that this brings up a good reason to have the term limit discussion. Some fresh blood in the House and the Senate probably is something that we can all get behind. 44 years, and he makes a good point. All these people that have been left behind, the drive-bys and the violence and the homelessness is it's crazy, man. And people like her need to just go retire to your $6 million mansion. He's absolutely right. Same with Joe Biden, 47 years. What have you done? And who's running against him? Other than, obviously Donald Trump is, but who's running to take his Senate seat?
Well, he's gone. He's gone from there. So that's water under the bridge. But the Maxine Waters did slam Collins at one point, saying, and I forget how she phrased this, so this is paraphrasing, but she essentially said that Joe Collins is a puppy dog on the leash of Donald Trump. So Joe Collins, I saw him in an interview here the other night where he said, I've never even met the president. I don't even know what Maxine is talking about. But this just goes back to the liberal, progressive, radical talking points that everybody is a slave to Trump. Everybody is a racist. Everybody is a misogynist, a bigot. Everybody wants to kill grandma and grandpa, forget about them, take their health care away. Republicans want people to die. They want to send grandma off the cliff. They want nothing but control. This is everything that they say Republicans are is exactly who they are. So the hypocrisy is right in front of your face. How you can actually go and cast a vote for Joe Biden, to me, when first of all, he's not going to finish his term. And I'll tell you why. Nancy Pelosi brought up the Article 25 for the president, or is it Amendment 25? You're going to have to tell me. I don't know.
25th Amendment.
25th Amendment. Yeah. Invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office based on his inability to serve because of his health. Well, he beat the coronavirus and was dancing 3 days later in front of tens of thousands of people in Pennsylvania after leaving the panhandle of Florida and enduring heat and humidity while delivering a strong message of energized unity and positivity for America. So, Nancy, I think the salon is open. Go get your hair blowed out. So these are the talking points of the radical left, and they are exactly who they say. So, at the sake of not repeating myself again, I don't understand how you can look at this party and say, I support what they're doing. They stand for nothing.
Let me ask you something quick. If you're running for Senate or a congressional seat as a Republican, and the president of the United States, who is also a Republican, endorses you, yeah, absolutely. I'd be super proud of that. And if you want to call me a little puppy dog on his leash, okay, whatever. I'll be a little puppy dog. Woof, woof. Who gives a shit? The point is that the president endorses him. He should take great pride in that and keep doing what he's doing. But who cares what some woman who's been sitting in the same seat for 44 years and has done jack shit to help her people? Who cares what she says?
And I don't even know if Joe Collins has officially been endorsed by the president. I haven't done enough research on the guy to know that. I do know this, is that we have also here in Minnesota, we have Lacey Johnson, who's an African-American conservative running against Ilhan Omar. It would be, look at all these black conservatives. There's a wave of this going on, all over the place. And we've played other ads here from Kim Klacik, for example. She's another one from Baltimore, a black conservative. Lacey Johnson, Alan West. The list goes on and on of good, positive, America freedom-loving veterans who happen to be African American. Thereby,
that's oppression for you, brother.
Oh yeah, for sure. But here's the deal. The chances of them being elected in these Democratic strongholds is really tough. It's a really tough thing to look at. And that is because of the identity politics that has been able to enslave minority communities for decades. I don't know why it is that the Democrats are able to only just come out once every 3.5 years to talk with black people. And I don't know what it is about black people that makes them say, I need to vote Democrat just because I'm black. We were listening to the gentleman on Izzo's show last night. He seems, from the south side of Chicago. He's a Trump-supporting conservative who reads. He said, I don't even have a TV. I read a lot, and I choose to be studied up and delve into facts and then make a decision on my own. But the fact is that Democrats, they think that black people are too stupid to make up their own minds. They take their vote for granted, which is the very definition of racism, and it is also the very definition of slavery.
Well, and you might be right, Stu. You might be right. They may not have a great chance at winning. But you know what? This is probably the start of the change that we need in our country.
Well, we need it right now. We can't wait. We need this change now. We can't.
Well, yeah, but but this is the start, man. And even if they don't win, the next guy, if it's not going to be Joe Collins, if he loses and he's not going to try to run again, all right. But now he's showing somebody else that may think, well, I never thought that a young black man from the actual community that the community within that district could run and even have a shot. This guy's got a shot. He may not win, but it's got to be a cycle, man. And I think that it's great. It's awesome.
You would just hope that people who live in communities that have been affected by these career establishment swamp politicians, that they've never, I guess the message kind of is synonymous with 2016, where President Trump won the black vote. And, I think that he's at these rallies, you see a lot more black people going there. You see a lot more minorities going there. In South Florida, we heard from, I think it was Greg Skasny told us that in Miami, down in Dade County, there was a Trump parade. There was over 30,000 vehicles involved with this, mostly Latino Americans. There's a UFC fighter that just came out and supported Donald Trump. So these...
I think he's Latino as well.
He is. That was my point. These minority people that are in positions that have a platform, that are speaking for freedom, and what they're saying is you can't allow these people to take our vote for granted anymore. They just count on us year after year, day after day, cycle after cycle to be supportive of their platform simply because of the color of our skin. It's like Cory Booker looking at Amy Coney Barrett and saying during these Senate confirmation hearings, well, you must be a racist. I don't remember how he phrased it, but he said, you must. These people have nothing else. They don't. What do you do when you don't have a platform of your own? You make up lies about somebody else, right? Like Maxine Waters saying that Collins is a puppy dog for the president. Well, first of all, I don't know that he's even been endorsed by Trump. And second of all, he's never even met him. So if
in a roundabout way, that is an endorsement by the president.
Well, yeah, sure. She just
he
gave it
have
to him.
Say nothing.
So I don't know. I'm looking for this thing here about this UFC fighter. I'm trying to figure out who this was. Let's see here. It was wait till Donald Hampton's UFC fighter. Let's see if this is it right here from 3 weeks ago.
Angie Craig knows about hard work.
We got ads that we have to play. See, when I do try to do things that are impromptu here,
let's keep her there.
It's hard.
George
Masvidal. Angie continue that fight for all Minnesotans.
Okay, here it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, the silent majority is ready to make some noise. If you thought that was a beating, wait till
Kobe.
November 3rd when Donald Trump gets his hands on Sleepy Joe. That's going to be a landslide.
Okay, so what's his name? George what?
George Masvidal.
Spell that for me. Spell that for me.
Masvidal.
Okay, there we go. And I'm sorry to all the listeners out here. We're usually a lot more organized than this, but I think it's really important that people actually listen to this. Let's see here. 1 day ago, and I'm sure there's going to be another. Here it is.
I'm going to let you in on something. The Democrats just think that they're entitled to the Latino vote. They think that we just have to hand it over to them. That's right.
Can you hear that? It's really hard to hear, though, isn't it? Let me see if there's a better one here. Sorry about that. This is really disgusting, and I apologize to everybody for this. Here we go.
I'm going to let you in on something. The Democrats just think that they're entitled to the Latino vote. They think that we just have to hand it over to them. That's right. We sure as hell don't. Así mismo. They got to show us what they can do for us, what they can do for our communities. We're not going to buy the same wolf tickets and false promises that destroyed great countries like Venezuela and Cuba. It's not going to happen. You know what else is not going to work for them? Playing Despacito on your cell phone.
Right.
To pander to us. Hell no.
And I'm going to stop it there. Go look it up. Again, that's George, and I already closed it out here.
Masvidal.
There you go. I used that as I just wanted to hear it again. Wolf tickets. But
yeah, I like that.
You can't, and what I like is you can't just play Despacito on your cell phone and pander to us like Biden did. What about the pandering that Nancy Pelosi did with Chuck Schumer when she put the kente cloth on and went and kneeled before the gold casket of George Floyd? These people are only into what these trigger points are that they think are going to affect Americans. Racism is becoming such a moot issue at this point because the word itself carries no weight any longer. Mm-hmm. Richard and I were working yesterday. I'm going to bring this up. We're doing surveillance in somebody's neighborhood, and we're looking for somebody to go to a house that's associated with the person that we're looking for, who is a career criminal with many felony warrants, multiple warrants in different counties. And we're doing surveillance from, I'm not going to give away too many of our secrets, but we're doing surveillance from a location where we can't be seen, but we have a pretty good vantage point. And a woman comes out of her home, a white woman, by the way, with red hair, comes out of her home, and that's important to the story, and I'm going to get there in a second. She comes out of her home and into her driveway, where we're kind of parked towards the end of her driveway. And she sees the truck, and she obviously could hear it running, and she kind of does a double take and looks. And she was going to mind her own business and not be a Karen, and she was going to get in her vehicle, and she was going to go away. But I found the opportunity then to roll my window down, first of all, and just wave and say, hey, this is who we are. This is why we're here. Don't freak out. Because another thing we don't want to happen is for her to leave and then on her, when she leaves, be a Karen and call the police and say, hey, there's this weird vehicle. And then all of a sudden there's 6 or 7 squad cars around us. Kind of blows up our spot just a little bit. So right. She's like, oh, yeah, I know him. And she was referring to an associate of the person that we're looking for. And she's like, yes, I know him. He's very mean. I go, well, what do you mean? Well, he's very mean to his child. Well, how old is his child? Well, I think a 3rd grader. Oh, okay. And I've got a third grader, so I can relate to that age group, you know. And I, to be honest with you, I can also relate to being frustrated as a father of a third grader. But she was like, yeah, he's very mean. He swears at his kid. He's very racist.
What does that mean?
So now being mean to your kid is racist. So
yikes.
The point that I'm getting to here, Karen, is people aren't just racist because you don't agree with them. But that has become the code word that people use. Go watch a Saturday Night Live skit. Go watch any of these jokers on these quote-unquote comedians, and I use the term lightly because they're not even funny anymore. But Stephen Colbert, I think every other word out of his dumbass mouth is racist. You know, anything on CNN that you watch is racist. Michelle Obama just did this whole dissertation on the president of the United States about how racist he is and how everything he's doing is racist. This is just what we do now.
Well, yeah, and you know these Democrats and these leftists are planning on or banking on the fact, like you were talking about, Stu, that they're just deserve the vote and they'll play the songs and do all this other stuff. Well, there's got some news for all you people. These folks are actually woke.
Yeah,
they're woke, and that's the true definition. If you ask me, they're not going to just fall for that bullshit anymore.
Right.
And so. You got to come up with a new strategy and bring your A game.
Yeah, how about coming up with this strategy? Do something for your constituents and do the truth. Thank you. Yes, do something for your constituents. Stop getting rich off the tit of the taxpayer. Maxine Waters, Barack Obama. Look at all of these. Ilhan Omar, Governor Walz, Mayor Jacob Fry in our city right here in Minneapolis, Melvin Carter. What are you actually doing for your constituents? It's absolute BS. And all of these career politicians that are in the swamp have to go. They have to go and be replaced by guys like Joe Collins. Richard, your final words.
Don't fall for it, people. Don't fall for it. It's a whole bunch of bull poopy.
Oh, my God. I can't believe she said that. And we will see you on, we'll see you tomorrow, but also in person live on the 25th. Waldorf, Minnesota, JR's Barn. Let's turn Minnesota red. I love it. We will be there. Until tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Here's what's up to it. Here's what's down to it. Here's to any way you can get to it. Here's to those that don't do it. May they be dragged to it, tied to it, or forced to it. Here's to us who do it because we're the ones that's used to it. Remember to fly low and avoid that radar. One day they're going to come for the car, and when they do, save the radio!
Twitter blew up. More offensive than a presidential tweet.
Russia, China, Japan, Mexico, all countries will respect us far more than they do under past administrations.
PC Radio with Stu and Rich. Mojo 50 Radio.
Hey, it's Stu Peters and Richard Leonard for Law Dog Coffee Company. Welcome to Law Dog Coffee Company. Some heroes wear capes, ours wear a badge. Every single purchase you make goes to support law enforcement. So if you love the cops, if you support law enforcement, if you don't agree with defunding the police, if you want to make sure that they have good equipment, if you want to take care of law enforcement families, this is the only coffee that you want to drink. And not only that, their purpose is great, but the coffee is even better. You can sign up online very easily for freshly roasted specialty coffee to your door. You can choose weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly deliveries. Gifts and apparel also available. Law Dog Coffee Company, located at lawdogcoffee.com. Lawdogcoffee.com. That's lawdogcoffee.com. Use the promo code PCRadio for 10% off every purchase.